Trapmore gang, this David story is getting crazier every single day. You've probably heard the story about the supposed dead body being kept in the freezer. But what if I told you that there's new theories that have been going around today where some people actually believe that the freezer theory may have been made up by David himself to throw people off of the real cause of death? Not only that, but people are now also saying that the LAPD have been blocking the medical examiner from releasing the real cause of death, and that cause of death might now, only just now, have been identified, and people are going to war with TMZ, saying that TMZ might actually be running defense for David and spreading fake stories to muddy the waters and try and save him. These are all opinions. Everything I'm going to say in this video is opinion, it's a theory, but these theories are wild, and this whole situation is just more insane than you could have ever believed. So I've got all the information about these theories, about the misinformation, about the allegations that David might actually be planting these stories himself to try and throw people off. And I'm going to break it all down for you in this video. Now, if you've been following this case, you will probably be familiar with Steve Fisher, SF Investigates on X.com. This gentleman is a private investigator that's been looking into the case. He apparently was retained by the owner of the house that David lived in when this whole thing went down. He has just tweeted, and his Twitter has been absolutely popping the past couple of months because of this case. He has tweeted, "It's been determined." People think that he's referring to her cause of death. Now, is he saying that it's just been determined recently? Or he could be saying that it's actually been determined for quite some time, but there is a cover-up / cloak of secrecy going on over this situation, okay? People are saying, I just read the article, I wonder who the informants are. People are saying there's informants, right? They're saying that's great, but why haven't they arrested him? Like, yeah, making it public could mess with the integrity of the case, but so can letting him walk free. Find him and lock him up. People are saying, now, how does he know that when her case has been made private? People are saying that exactly, but I don't know, I'm just sharing it. Like he and everybody else who's lying said they have sources. Now, some people believe that perhaps the cause of death has been known for a while. Perhaps there's more information that the medical examiner has and it hasn't been released. The reason why people are saying this is because of this. This is a statement on Celeste from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office. This says November the 24th, 2025. At 10:54 a.m. on Friday, November the 21st, the County of Los Angeles Department of Medical Examiners Department received a court order initiated by the Los Angeles Police Department to place a security hold on the medical examiner case regarding Celeste. No records or details associated with the case, including the cause and manner of death and medical examiner's report, can be released or posted on the website until further notice. The department's mission is to have full transparency with the community by providing information about our cases to empower people to make changes that save lives, said the chief medical examiner, Dr. Ode Ukpo. Since becoming the department head, I've worked on eradicating the practice of placing security holds on medical examiner cases simply by law enforcement request. The practice of security holds is virtually unheard of in other counties and has not been proven to improve outcomes in the legal system. We are dedicated to serving our community with full transparency. However, the law precludes us from doing so while the court order remains this case. The department previously received a request for a security hold from the LAPD on this case on September the 15th, 2025. So that was way back, just around the time they were starting to identify the person. But that hold was denied due to insufficient justification to warrant the hold. The cops wanted all of the information to be kept private. The department understands the public interest in this case and remains committed to transparency when possible. Information will be made available once the court order is lifted. For questions about the court order, timeline, and law enforcement investigation into this death, please contact the LAPD. Now, there's going to be some more stuff that we're going to be able to talk about regarding this, all right? But basically, people are saying the judge has ordered a hold on all records regarding Celeste. Nothing can be released to the public right now, including her cause of death, autopsy findings, or any reports. Okay, the LAPD have requested this while the investigation is still active. So people are commenting, they're saying, so the LAPD tried to place a security hold on her remains a few days after finding her. I'm assuming they knew foul play was involved from the beginning, and they've been connecting the dots before moving in with an arrest. Okay. My worry is the LAPD are convinced of one narrative while the medical examiner report either contradicts it or cannot support what the LAPD is theorizing. This has been my thoughts on why we have so many conflicting reports on what state the body was found in. Leaks are usually purposeful. All they've got right now is the body. Throwing stuff out there like that to gather info and trying to nail a time frame. It's really frustrating for the public, but it's an active case without arrests. Waiting until trial documents are available sucks, but justice for Celeste is more important. Okay. Now, back to Steve Fisher, because it's all going to start making sense very soon. Okay, it's all going to start making sense very soon. But SF Investigates, he crashed out on Twitter, but it was a good crash out to some people. I reported on the freezer story. I originally said I didn't believe it. Now new information has come out. They're saying it. I had said, oh, I'm going to have to eat my words. But now they're saying, no, that freezer story might actually be a bunch of baloney to throw you off the track of what's really going on. So SF posted, he said, I'm not going to use anyone's name, but it will probably be obvious what I'm referring to. If that violates anything and someone feels I need to be arrested, then honestly, being locked up without a phone and computer right now sounds like a dream vacation to me. That's fine with me. But freezing a body completely halts the decomposition process. It freezes the liquid inside the tissues and prevents bacteria from spreading, which is required for decomposition. There are people on Mount Everest who have been above ground for decades and are still preserved. Morgues use refrigeration to slow decomposition for this exact reason. Saying a pathologist cannot make a determination because a body was frozen is completely out of touch with basic science. A medical examiner would prefer for a body to be immediately frozen because it becomes a time capsule. Medical students train for surgery on cadavers. Bodies are routinely frozen and thawed for educational and surgical training. I screenshot and attach messages from two medical professionals discussing the process of moving a body from a -4-degree freezer to a 39-degree refrigerator, and the body was fully thawed in 4 days. Another professional notes that a fully deep frozen body will thaw in 48 to 72 hours when done in a controlled setting, not in a hot front trunk. So how could a body still be partially frozen after sitting in a trunk for months? If you want to change the timeline now, fine. Let us say a body was placed there on the day the parking enforcement officer first ticketed the vehicle. We know from the tyre chalking that the car never moved. That is 13 to 14 days before the body was found in the Tesla frunk, and people actually believe TMZ when they say the body was still partially frozen when it arrived at the medical examiner's office. What the actual F? Right now, the choice is between science and TMZ, and it's shocking how many people are choosing TMZ. This is the same outlet that published breaking news today saying the house on Donny Drive has a refrigerator and a freezer in the kitchen, an appliance that every single house has. Okay? And then this is some of the proof that he's posing. For example, if you wish to dissect superficial structures for facelifting, 24 hours will be okay, but if you wish to thaw all the tissue deep inside of the specimen, 48 to 72 hours. Right? He's saying there's no way that that body was even remotely frozen if it was less than that calm. People are saying, I mean, he's not wrong. People are saying, I don't like this man. It's obvious that he's a clout chaser, but I'm glad he said this. When I saw that headline, I was real confused. They may have had a harder time determining when she died because of this, but if they can't determine the cause, that's more likely because she was too decomposed to do so, which isn't because of the freezing. Once in a while, I agree with this man, okay? He has a valid point. It's inconceivable for Celeste to have been partially frozen if she was sitting in a hot car for weeks. It's just not possible. If she was partially frozen, then someone placed her in the car close to the time it was towed. There is no other plausible scenario. That means someone knew her body was in the house and wanted it to be found. They probably waited until David was on tour to move the body. If TMZ misrepresented the information and Celeste's body was simply frozen at some point in time, but not when found, that would be more likely. Right? Look, this is what I'm about to tell you is insane. What I'm about to tell you is absolutely insane. So now when you go back and look at this TMZ article, it hits kind of different, right? It says, body found in frozen state, cause of death may never be determined. That tagline there, it's a bit convenient, isn't it? It's a bit too much good news for David, isn't it? Body found in frozen state, cause of death may never be determined. We might never know. You know, a minute ago it was nobody is a suspect. Homicide might not have even happened. Next minute, she was frozen. You might never determine it. All right? The LA County Medical Examiner will not be able to establish a cause of death. Interesting, right? According to sources, the medical examiner received the body in horrendous condition. It was decapitated and the torso was intact. The limbs had been removed and cut into pieces. We're told all of the body parts were partially frozen and had apparently been thawing out while sitting in the trunk. The body was in such bad shape. Initially, investigators didn't know if it was male or female. When the body was received to the medical examiner's office, the initial determination this was a victim of an apparent homicide, but our sources say the medical examiner is now having trouble establishing an official manner of death, and it will most likely be undetermined. Awfully confident with an anonymous source, isn't it? And so this is the follow-up that a lot of people were pissed off about. I hadn't covered this yet because I low-key thought this was really stupid, and this made me think twice about the whole thing. House David rented has a freezer. Yeah, no shit. I don't want to put myself into it as a suspect in this case too, but I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. The property I live in right now, it has a freezer. All right, so you could say I'm a suspect. You could put me down on the list as a suspect because my property that I live in now has a freezer, just like every other gosh darn property in at least the Western world, right? Saying the cops are focusing on the storage of her body. Okay, look at this. An arrow. They put an arrow there. It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit weird. Singer David, a suspect, had a freezer large enough to store a body. A relevant fact since her body. Now, even if that's large enough to store a body, like, you know the way shelving works in freezers, bro. You're just sticking a whole body heads up in there. That ain't how it works. Check out this photo of David's rental home. It was taken a few years ago. It shows the kitchen has a KitchenAid refrigerator freezer. The freezer side has a height of 74 inches. It can go as low as -8 degrees Fahrenheit. They're giving Celeste height, all right? But that's not how a freezer really works. But they're saying it was decapitated, arms and limbs cut off, so it could have been put in the freezer. It's getting a bit far-fetched now, right? Mind you, we don't know if the police have zeroed in on this freezer, but as we reported, the body was partially frozen when it was found. Well, Steve Fisher's saying that's impossible. This is after an extended period of time in David's trunk back in August when it was hot in LA. The LAPD executed a search warrant on the home after the body was discovered. There's also a video showed a David in a house, not his rental, with an appliance box behind him that's a freezer. Now, this is all getting a bit weird now, isn't it? TMZ, they're talking about this, and a minute ago, saying cause of death may never be determined. And so over on Steve Fisher's Twitter, it's x.com, he was very pissed off at TMZ. There are a bunch of posts that I haven't showed you. He said TMZ's constant flip-flopping is unbelievable, and it's wild that so many people just go along with it and don't call them out. And here, he said he can't talk on the case anymore. He said, because of the volume of calls and emails I've received following TMZ's reporting from an unnamed source, I need to state that for legal reasons, I cannot provide any further public comment on the Celeste case at this time. This is not permanent, but for now, this is the situation. My client's goal and my goal remain justice for Celeste. Right? So then when he posted this, wrong. A lot of people believed that that was a reference to this article. This is November the 22nd. People were saying that he was calling out, saying that this freezer article is cap. Wrong. Cap. Untrue. Okay? He said, watching a rag tabloid get trolled would be hilarious under almost any circumstances besides at the expense of a teenager. So he's saying that the TMZ is being trolled. By who, you ask? By who you wonder? Okay. Well, so this is the post that I already read you, right? Where he's basically saying that it's absolutely untrue. There's no way, all right? And then this is a follow-up. It's also important to remember that the medical examiner put this on their website after finding the body and before identifying her. They used her and she in the statement, and they said she was severely decomposed. It also said she appears to have been deceased inside the vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. So I'm sticking with the medical examiner's office over TMZ. Here's the complete original statement that was released by the medical examiner. The decedent was found severely decomposed inside a vehicle on, what was that? September the 8th, 2025. She appears to have been deceased inside the vehicle for an extended period of time before being found. We're unable to determine her age, race, or ethnicity. The decedent was wearing a tube top and black leggings, size small. She has wavy black hair, and jewelry includes a yellow metal stud earring and a W yellow metal chain bracelet. Not really any mention of freezing or thawing or being chopped up or being decapitated. And a lot of people said that decapitation thing, that might have been made up, right? And so he followed up again. He said, one last point, again from the medical examiner's release, the decedent was wearing a tube top, black leggings, size small, wavy black hair, jewelry, yellow metal stud earring, yellow metal chain bracelet. So you were telling me that someone supposedly went to such an extreme that they severely cut up her limbs, as TMZ claims, yet the yellow metal chain bracelet somehow stayed on her wrist, and they supposedly did all of this so she couldn't be identified, but they left identifying items like her bracelet and earring, which could be tied back to photos of her and to whoever purchased them. They also left the leggings and tube top, which would now be collection clothes for DNA of the person or persons responsible. They supposedly went to these lengths, but didn't strip her of her identifying clothes and jewelry. It's a good point. All right. And so after that statement from the medical examiner's office that I read you earlier, he clapped back again. He said, I appreciate the commitment to transparency by the LA County Medical Examiner's Office. They previously denied an LAPD request for security hold on the case. Now LAPD obtained a court order sealing the case. The timing of that, along with the wording of the news release from the Medical Examiner's Office, leads me to believe a cause and manner of death have been determined in the case of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and that the medical examiner's investigative and autopsy reports are completed. The police don't want people to know. All right? So, after this, an LA Times article would come out, and Steve gave his thoughts on that again. Right? And I'm going to read you some key points from the article, but he said excellent and accurate reporting from Richard Winton at the LA Times regarding Celeste Hernandez. Today, a captain at the LAPD told the LA Times, Williams on Monday stated the body was not decapitated and had not been frozen, and as some media outlets had reported. The motion filed in court to seal the medical examiner's report, which includes the cause and manner of death, stated that this is not only a homicide division investigation, but a murder investigation, the LA Times reported. LAPD Detective Joshua Byers, a veteran of the Elite Robbery Homicide Division, filed a declaration on Friday that described their probe as a murder investigation. And then Steve said, it's been painful to watch people accept the frozen and dismembered narrative that TMZ put out. I'm glad that the LAPD has now confirmed that this information was incorrect. So he's saying that that article made it official that the freezer story is cap. So who's putting this story out there? So this is the article. It's been posted on the Celeste subreddit, and there's a couple of just interesting little tidbits of information here which people have picked up on. So here it is. Sorry, I didn't have it on screen, but here it is, okay? And this is one of the pages that's really interesting. Basically, this is a conversation with LAPD Detective Joshua Byers. And he says here, right, when they say that they basically didn't want the medical examiner's information and the autopsy results to become public, so they're basically confirming that not only is the autopsy done, but they don't want the information to become public. He says, in his court declaration, Byers said that making autopsy findings public will reveal, or tend to reveal, the ongoing investigation and the integrity of the investigation, as well as the identity of witnesses and or informants who are cooperating with law enforcement, and the content of the information they have provided, which could endanger the lives of witnesses and or compromise the investigation. The judge ordered the declaration supporting documents and the court order itself be sealed and maintained in a secure location in the custody of the clerk of the court until further order of this court. Okay. And so the LAPD gave some direct information here, and they basically absolutely confirmed, it seems that they confirmed, that TMZ was capping. It said the girl's remains were found inside of a black bag in the trunk of the multi-platinum musician's Tesla. The girl's body weighed 71 pounds and had a shush tattoo on her finger, according to the medical examiner's records that were released before the court order. Celeste's body was found the day after her 15th birthday. LAPD Captain Scott Williams said the girl had been dead for at least several weeks before the discovery. Williams on Monday stated the body was not decapitated and it was not frozen, as some media outlets have reported. But it was true that investigators believe that more than one person was involved in the effort to dispose of the teen's body in the months before her remains were found. And the rumor that she was, not even a rumor, but they were saying the idea that she might have been dead since the spring, according to law enforcement, that was also true, as far as law enforcement did indeed think that was true, right? And not only that, for everybody that thinks the LAPD were loafing and not putting in work on this case, this says last week, LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, who oversees the department's detective operations, addressed the investigation, saying accountability is coming. Our RHD detectives have been working and not waiting for that decision by the medical examiner. They are going to get justice for Celeste. And they said no one is off the table, including him, David. And they said the probe has stepped up in recent days, but no official suspect has been named. And even more crazy stuff that we've seen on Reddit, but now is apparently being confirmed. According to law enforcement sources, the singer and the girl did meet online, Burke shot to fame posting Fortnite clips to YouTube, then pivoted to making his own music. They met online. You know what I mean? It's like, we know that, but it's like the fact that the police are actually now saying that, that's very significant. But what's really interesting was that part about not wanting to compromise the safety and integrity of informants. Now look at this comment. This is interesting. This report says withholding information protects informants and the integrity of the investigation. This makes me think that Asia is definitely one of those informants. She posted on Instagram that for her safety, she wouldn't post or share anything. I also didn't know that they confirmed that Celeste lived with David. Seems like they have. So there's definitely a charge there for harboring a missing person or a minor, possibly allowing access to illicit substances that resulted in her death, if an OD. Not to mention if it disgustingly turns out that he murdered her. Guys, that's already at least 10 years in prison, 20 to life. He's undoubtedly cooked. All right. But they're saying there might be an informant. Now, the LA Times wasn't the only publication that was contradicting TMZ. People magazine also posted an article, and they basically contradicted TMZ too. All right. And, you know, LAPD captain also giving comments to them. Once again, the same thing that we just saw. Not decapitated, body parts not frozen. That was cap. People saying SF was right. Somebody was trolling TMZ. Somebody. So some people are saying SF Investigates is 1-0 against TMZ. People are saying that he won the battle. Some people are saying it's not a game. It's not about it being a game, but it's like some people have doubted things that he said in the past, but now it's sounding like he's right. And then all of that, right? Now that we know that she wasn't frozen, that brings us back to this article. This is the second article. House David rented had a freezer. Right? And everybody in the comments is pointing out how dumb this is. I mean, obviously, TMZ is really trying to stretch out these headlines at this point. Just give it a break and let stuff happen. They're so annoying. People saying, yeah, fork found in a kitchen, soup found in a bowl. My fridge came with a freezer. Weird. You must be a killer. Now, people are baffled. They're saying, what? Like, why? You don't say, like, why would TMZ do this? Why would they put this across? What is their intention? Who's putting them up to this? Well, look, I don't know for sure. I can't say definitively. But it's some people's opinions. It's the opinions of some people. Some people. All right. I'll just keep it very real with you. It's the opinions of some people that TMZ are actually working with David's team to spread this misinformation on purpose to create doubt in the eyes of the public so that when the police do actually report the truth, we won't know what to believe. Okay? Now, this quote, okay, this is actually a quote from a book called Doubt is Their Product. And it's basically all about how, cigarette executives and cigarette companies basically kind of put doubt and put misinformation and muddied the waters when it came to, health effects and, how the public are kind of understanding how cigarettes affect their health to bamboozle them and basically make it more difficult, muddy the waters for them to get to the truth. And it's an interesting quote. And, I feel like this is quite an interesting little thread that somebody's put on Reddit. There's some pretty smart cookies over in Dave Idiots. But it says, doubt is our product, since it's the best means of competing with the body of fact that exists in the mind of the general public. It's also the means of establishing a controversy. Within the business, we recognize that a controversy exists. However, with the general public, the consensus is that cigarettes are in some way harmful to the health. If we're successful in establishing a controversy at the public level, then there's an opportunity to put across the real facts about smoking and health. Doubt is also the limit of our product, right? So people says it creates such ridiculous headlines sprinkled in with a little truth, misinformation to create doubt upon the entire story and all the actual facts that come after and before. TMZ know they're lying, but that's their goal, to report so many lies to the point that when the truth comes out, people won't even believe it because so much doubt has been created in the minds of the public who have already seen the body of facts that they don't know what to believe. This is some next level stuff. This is some next level stuff that sure only an elite crisis management team, as Drake would put it, hired a crisis management team to try and muddy the waters, man. And that's what people are, this is just their opinions, but people are saying that's what it seems like is happening. David's attorney, Blair Burke, is friends with Harvey Lemvin at TMZ, and they're playing both sides. They're trying to break the latest using their LAPD contacts while running paid PR for David. In the end, they cash out the most on both sides. Saying David's PR team is out here trying to tell us to not believe in TMZ. LOL, you're working double time since the new leaks. David's PR team is the one who told you he was cooperating fully from day one to help police. LAPD says he never cooperated. TMZ then reported that he was cooperating. So you keep believing TMZ? People are saying, yeah, it's weird how it was TMZ who said that David was fully cooperating with the police when in fact he was not. That is weird. That is very weird. Why would they say that? Who made them say that? Where did they get that from? Crazy work for a music label and their team to still try and maintain a good image for this mother effer. Very believable when you consider Harvey is close friends with David's lawyer. Harvey seems to be a creepy, scheming beef jerky, desperate to be relevant. That is savage. Every human with common sense will believe LAPD when they officially speak out because it's an official source who's doing an investigation. Sometimes I feel like those subs are kindergarten. Nobody going to buy bullshit from whoever it is, let it David team or some mentals in this sub. People are saying, why would TMZ be saying damning things if they're working with David's team? As they're playing both sides to confuse everyone. TMZ are the ones who said Celeste was dismembered, then took it back, then said she wasn't, and then said she was again when the LAPD never said any of it. See confusion. I thought David's team was spreading misinformation to create doubt in the eyes of the public by saying TMZ is working with David's team to spread misinformation to create doubt in the eyes of the public. They're saying it is an absolutely twisted web of misinformation. People are saying you're 100% correct, and if you share information from other resources or just have your own theories, you get attacked. I was just thinking exactly this, but wasn't for sure until last night when I posted twice on the main sub for Celeste Rivas, and people weren't happy with my theories. TMZ is definitely playing both sides and want everyone confused, and they have people on their team in these subs spewing BS, which proves most of us right. Look, I'm not right every time. I'm a fact finder. I'm not trying to play sides. I'm not trying to do... I'm honestly... Some people say I'm clout chasing, all of that good stuff. All right, fine. You want to say that? That's cool. I'm really about the truth. The whole point of this channel, okay, my main channel, Trap Law Ross, that's where I do deep dive investigations into topics, okay? I might spend a month, I might spend 3 months. I'll make 4-hour videos sometimes, okay? 6-hour videos sometimes. Sometimes an hour and a half. Sometimes I do a quick little half-an-hour video on a topic if I feel like it. This channel... This Trap More Ross channel, it was always about me just talking my mind, giving my opinion, keeping up with the news, reacting to things. And I've been very tapped into all of these different David subreddits, these David platforms, all of that kind of thing. But what's crazy to me is that I've followed this thing so closely and I'm always trying to find the facts. When I heard the freezer theory initially, I gave my opinion. I said that sounds a bit far-fetched. Then when I start seeing it reported on TMZ, I'm not going to lie, that was convincing to me. I see TMZ as somewhat of an authority, not the same authority as the LAPD, but somewhat of an authority. But now when you start hearing this, you'd start hearing that the LAPD is actually contradicting everything that TMZ said. And that freezer thing that a lot of people, including me, initially didn't believe. And then I started to say, okay, I guess I'm coming around. Next thing you know, you start seeing stuff like this and you think, hang on a minute. Am I being played by David too? Am I being played by a PR team, a crisis management team? That's just a question I'm asking myself. I'm not saying that it's true. I've got opinions. Okay, this is what my channel's about. This is for opinions. But could I believe, in my opinion, could I believe that David is muddying the waters, putting this out there? Because when you put it out there that the girl was frozen, she was cut into pieces, she was decapitated, all separated, who knows, right? Driven up to Santa Barbara, who knows? When you start hearing that, that sounds so crazy. It sounds so messed up. But then it's like, it does muddy the waters. It does make you think it's priming you to believe such a far-fetched thing. For you to believe that someone will go to these lengths, it's so crazy. I don't know David from a can of paint. All right, what I've heard about him has been pretty despicable. If I'm not gonna, in my opinion, the things I've heard about him is weird as hell. Super weird dude. The way he was using iconography in his music and music videos was super gross and messed up. And it seems to correlate to things that were going off, but who knows? But this is the thing. If you can jump the gun and believe that somebody was put into a freezer and then thawed in a car and they were somehow still frozen even though they were sat in a hot car in California for months, that's quite far-fetched, but they're convincing people to believe that. Is that more far-fetched than the idea that David didn't do nothing wrong and this is just all completely fine and nothing happened? It was a complete accident. She slipped and fell into the Tesla. That is ridiculous, but they're making us believe ridiculous things back to back to back to back and just muddying the waters. And I feel like this could be a psyop. That's just my opinion, okay? I want to know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know if you guys think that this actually could be a bunch of cap that is being put out to confuse everybody and get them off of the trail. The medical examiner's office don't seem happy that they're not able to release the facts. The LAPD allegedly are keeping everything under the wraps, and they're trying to allegedly, as they said in that article, protect informants. It makes you wonder who's potentially telling on David. It makes you wonder how much information they've got, where they got it, and what is the current state of this investigation. investigation. And it's possible the LAPD are lying to us too. It's possible that the LAPD have been economical with the truth to try and muddy the waters and confuse David, who is now crashing out doing a madness with TMZ. But the truth will always come out in the end, and I will always be here to chase the truth, not the clout, just the truth and the facts. And if the facts change tomorrow, I will update you guys on those. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, and I will keep updating you on this situation as it develops. Peace.